fam, Grace here once again. Welcome back to the channel. I am hoping that from wherever you my people are watching this from, you're doing all right and God has protected you and preserved you very well. And to my people that continuously give support to me on here, I do appreciate you so very much. And to my members, shout out to you guys, you do me amazing. And we are back with another interesting one. There's so much that this orange man is doing, but also there's so much that his supporters are doing, right? I came across this clip on TikTok, and shout out to the young lady that came out to address her concerns. This young lady is a minority that is adopted into a MAGA family, and you can only imagine what goes on in that family. Her being a minority and feeling like she's not fully represented, and also being in a family where you are not heard, you're not considered, you're not like, they're not concerned about things that concern you, where you cannot literally discuss your concerns. And to be honest, the comment section was telling how so many minority kids that are adopted into these MAGA families are literally facing it so hard because they are silenced when they come out to address some things. I think we are going to have to look at her clip first. We will come back and just talk about it.
Both my parents voted for Trump, and I'm adopted, so both my parents are white, and I also have a Chinese sister who's also adopted, and I'm going to tell you guys what their viewpoint of all of this is. I was just telling my mom how Trump is doing this mass deportation, and I'm telling her that, people who are citizens, veterans, are getting accused of being illegal aliens, and she's saying, and her defense is that, oh, well, he's trying to get rid of the people who are raping and killing people, as if our citizens don't do that already, and what are we doing about that? The common misconception is that these Trump supporters are stupid, which I don't fully disagree with, but my parents are smart. My mom used to work for the government, and she used to work on radar defense systems, and my dad used to be a tech consultant for healthcare companies. My mom is also involved in the stock market. Now you're probably wondering, why would they vote for a orange man that hates their children, right? I don't have the answer for that. My family and I, we don't talk politics, and my sister's to the point where she wants to move out the country, which I don't blame her. It's honestly very weird growing up with white parents during this time, and with Trump now being in office. Anytime I tell them anything that's going on, they don't believe me, or they just don't want to have the conversation. My sister and I have been trying to tell my mom what he's been doing with the abortions, and she's like basically telling us that, well, would you rather have money and be set for life, or worry about stuff like that? Being an Asian American and being adopted by white people, I don't want to bash my parents. They're amazing people. They'll fight for my rights any day, but I just don't think they realize the extent of the freedom we're losing with this man being in office. I'm not gonna lie, my Coinbase account has been going up since he's been the office, but that's the only good thing that's been going on, and I know that that's rooted in deep capitalism and the 9-to-5 people who can't even afford a 1-bedroom apartment. I don't do these type of videos. I've never really spoken out about political issues. This is my first TikTok account, and I don't really post on Instagram as well, but I just wanted to come on here to show you guys that although I love my parents, people with adopted children from other countries, they're still blinded, unfortunately, and this is just the relationship that I'm gonna have with my parents, and they're in their 70s, they're not gonna change their mind. People don't change at this point of their life, so yeah, we don't talk about politics. I definitely agree with this comment, and I'm gonna go into further explanation based off the comments I've been reading and explain a little bit more. My parents didn't grow up poor, but they didn't grow up middle class, and they just happened to get good educations in good fields. And I agree with you guys, like your job, your education, it doesn't reflect someone's intelligence or awareness. Even though they're in their 70s and can be stubborn sometimes, I'm still going to try to educate them. They're being more receptive to my comments and what my opinions are, so I can have somewhat of a healthy conversation with them. Also, I want to mention that my dad, he didn't vote for Trump this past year, but he did in 2016, so you can see that, he's becoming more enlightened, and hopefully my mom next election will, consider what I say. I can understand why people are, like, cutting off their parents. I really do. Like, if it's horrible for your mental health, like, do you. But I'm choosing to keep a relationship with them just because there's so many other things that make my parents great. And now it's just a matter of respecting those opinions and, knowing boundaries of how far to go into a conversation. And I guess you can say it's ignoring the problem, but this is what works for me. But yeah, guys, also, I don't really benefit off my parents' fortune like that. I have a full-time job, 9 to 5. I pay for almost everything. My parents did help me with my college education, but I still am paying student loans. I think it's pretty interesting how we talk about money and also the lack of conversation there is around there and why it's so taboo to talk about it. I mean, I understand that some cultures, communities, and families, you just don't discuss it. But I also see, the effects of that through, friends and family. But then there's my situations where my parents talk about it all the time. And, again, I'm really grateful. But I do feel like there should be more conversation about financial literacy and more of, a welcoming space, not for, financial selfish gain, but to just learn how to, get around and not get screwed over. I'm just reading through all your guys' comments, and they're so sweet and eye-opening. And I'm happy I posted this because at first I thought it was a bit too niche. And I'm like, who's gonna, really relate to this? Also, guys, I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for the support again. It definitely seemed like I was being held at gunpoint on that video at some points, but I'm thriving, and the relationship with my parents is so much more better than it was, a few years ago.
I wish she was the only person that was going through it. I tried to look for stitches that of other children's experience about this same thing, and I could not. But I got a lot of comments in her comment section as you're going to be looking at it, and so many minority kids are saying they're actually going through the same thing. There are also minorities adopted by palm-colored families, and the palm-colored parents are supporting MAGA, and they are like, would you rather be poor, or would you rather be concerned with these things, or would you rather just be happy and have money? And that is the worst thing you could tell to a child. That is, being dismissive of the fact that they are the target as much as they are in this, family. At the same time, I do understand that there is supposed to be boundaries and respect for your parents, but also respectfully ignoring the problem as if it does not exist, does not solve the problem. It rather creates more baggage and more trauma that kids have to deal with when they grow up. And as far as it comes to, parents just caring and doing their job, I mean, they're doing a great job, but at the same time, you realize that they were willing to choose privilege and more wealth and chase the bag more than taking into consideration their kids and their kids' situation. And I do understand that sometimes parents gotta do what they have to do, but at the same time, if it is going to put your children in danger later on, then shouldn't you be more considerate of them? And yeah, I feel like she also mentioned that, her father did not vote for him, but the mother is still stuck in there. As much as a father has so much influence on a girl child, but a mother has so much more influence on a girl. So hopefully our people of color, minorities, black kids get to have a safe space where they can fully express themselves and just be open to having these uncomfortable conversations, because I think it's very, very important. It shapes a child's perception of not only you but also of people that look like you. And yeah, respect is very important, but I think parents should also be more open to having these uncomfortable conversations, because trust me, if you're not having these conversations with them, then they will have these conversations with someone else, and someone will shape how they view you as a parent. And it will be very, very important for you to at least open this door for them to see at least what the world is saying, and also see what you think. It's not that they don't love you, they do love you. The parents love the kids, but at the same time, if a parent cannot make sacrifices. That's one of the things that some of the palm-colored families dismiss. Yes, children just deserve to be loved and that's all, but there are experiences that are just exclusive to only minority kids, to only black kids, to only Asian kids, to only, other people of color kids, right? And in most cases, whenever we look at such episodes, you realize that the family only cares about, themselves, but they really don't care about, the experiences of these other people and these kids that they adopted. I see a lot of, cognitive dissonance over here, where they know the truth, but they don't want to accept it. They don't want to feel guilty. If you know the truth, but then you really don't want to believe it, how can we categorize you? You are a hypocrite, and you are raising kids to have such values like you, because kids learn from their parents. And she said they are smart because they did this and this particular job. I feel like intelligence and smartness and has nothing to do with a job someone does. That is only a skill that you can acquire. We all have skills and you can acquire them anywhere, but that does not make you intelligent and make you think wisely or make decisions or just make conscious decisions. So really this has nothing to do. A racist will always be a racist regardless of whatever kind of job they do. They will always just, take themselves in consideration and leave everyone else. And so as much as they are loving, as much as they are providing, that's very good. I do feel like some of them just run out of the fact that there are not enough palm-colored kids in these, foster care systems where they go and adopt these kids from. Because if we are to look at it, generally, palm-colored kids are the ones that are taken first. And then people of color, the Hispanics, the Asians get taken, second, and then black people get taken last. So in situations like this is just an eye-opener to show you that if they had a chance to adopt a kid that does not look like this, they would do it. And I know that people will be like, politics is not supposed to be part of, this equation and all of that. Well, in a perfect world, that would sound very, realistic, but realistically speaking, these people vote, which means they take part in politics. And any party they vote for really has a lot to do with how their kids are going to be influenced. And in this case, where kids like this, some kids are already, like she said, her sister just is looking for a way of already getting out of there. And you can't blame her, because if You can't listen to her. You can listen to the fact that, the guy that is in office doesn't even like Chinese. He's come out and blatantly spoken against them. Then tell me, which inspiration are they going to pick from this type of a family that supports this type of a man, or this type of a leader, that hates other people and only wants a white country, because make America great again means, make America white. Isn't it okay for kids to have open conversations, especially if they are grown, right? There's a stage where you dictate a child's experiences, but then there's also a stage where kids see things for what they are, and they see you also for who you are. And this young lady is even very, very nice, and very, she's covering up for them. Because to be honest, if it was another person, they would call it what it is. I don't think they don't get it. I feel like they do get it. They get it, but they don't want to, give in and accept the truth for what it is. They are just dismissive, but they know the truth. They also see how it is going to affect people. You can't tell me they don't get it, because they are humans, and they clearly, if they are smart as some of these people are saying, right? Yeah, they should be open. They should see that there's something wrong with this. This guy is getting rid of, Obamacare. This guy is getting rid of, Equal Employment Act. Yeah, he's getting rid of that. This guy is getting rid of, some education, whatever's. He's getting rid of all of that, and you still think, they don't get it. They do get it. But I think they are at a place of privilege. They've never experienced this. Therefore, if it does not touch them, they would rather you have money. They would rather you eat, because that's exactly what, when some of the kids that are abused in such families, when they come out to say something, or when people come out to say something, they'll be like, we are giving them love, we are providing for them, but then there are some other things that you are ignoring. And some of the kids that are raised in such families that have a cognitive dissonance is that they are not prepared really well for the world. Some of the things they encounter, they cannot talk about it with their families, because their families are not open to having such conversations. And as much as people be like, a child is just a child, but the thing is, you are raising this child to live in the world out there, where they have to go and face it with how cruel and how rude it is, and especially raising a minority child. I think sometimes some of these people really have to be very considerate to some of the experience, because the thing is, because you do not experience this, it does not mean that this kid is not going to go through it. Stop raising kids, showing them a world that is not realistic. Because you have a certain level of privilege, it does not mean that this child is going to have the same level of privilege, because the world is always going to see them different. They don't look like you, so the treatment they are going to be receiving is totally going to be very, very different from what you receive. And for me, that's the thing. Since if you're privileged, it does not mean that this kid is going to share your privilege. She can only share your privilege when you're still working with them. But the moment they step out of your house and they have to start and figuring life on their own, they're going to be treated like how the people that look like them get treated. And so that's why I'm like, these conversations should be open, especially if kids are at that stage where they can, they start questioning things. And also something else that I have seen and heard with a lot of minority kids is the fact that they are not allowed to question things, because they feel like the parents feel like you questioning things is like literally putting them, like pinning them and you want to get an accountability, you want to know how things are like. That's why some of them really don't even teach the history to some of these kids, and they're like, do not corrupt the minds of these kids. Eventually they will be corrupted. Eventually they're gonna find out on their own. Eventually they will start blaming you for not telling them and letting them know the truth. Because the thing is, they're not going to stay with you for forever. And I think that's one of the things people come out to speak about. And when, people talk about such things, people be like, it's not always about race, it's not always about this and that. I mean, yeah, but don't you think it would be nice to prepare these kids for the world they are going to be living in, for, the difficulties at workplaces? Because, yeah, if DEI is going to be rolled back, that means one of these kids might encounter a problem where they're not going to be hired, and nobody told them that this is something that happens in this country. And when it happens to you, don't be shocked. It does not mean that you are not enough. It does not mean that you're not qualified. It does not mean that you're not talented or smart enough. So, but having such conversations prepares such kids to know. But thank God that, at least TikTok is right here to open some of these kids' eyes. Now they see things. As much as they will not have conversations with their parents, they will have it outside of, their households, at least to have a bit of information about this. It's just so absurd for kids that are going to be going through this for 4 years. I don't know how long this has to be extended, but for now, 4 years. And I want you guys to let me know what you think. If you are, if you're palm colored and you're watching this, like, do you give your kids, especially if you adopted kids, do you have room for your kids to have such conversations, or it's a no-no? And if you're an adopted kid that is watching this, what is your experience? I want you to let me know. I've put comments running so that you guys see, but it looks like lots of other kids are going through this. And please subscribe to the channel if you have not, and I'll definitely see you in another amazing video. Until then, my name is Gracie and I love you. Bye.